Hi, I'm Carl Azus. Welcome to CNN 10. This isn't the first time we've started the show reporting on a crisis in Venezuela, but it is the first time we've told you that someone besides the president has declared himself the acting leader of the country. The South American nation's been struggling for years. Though Venezuela is officially a federal presidential republic, which is considered a type of democracy, its executive branch has become increasingly authoritarian since Hugo Chavez served as president from 1999 to 2013. He steered Venezuela towards socialism, and his policies were continued by his hand-picked successor, President Nicolas Maduro. One of the government's biggest problems is its economy. It's heavily dependent on oil sales, and it has crumbled. Oil prices have fallen, the nation's oil wealth was wasted, and people have suffered. Millions have moved to other countries in search of basic necessities like food and medicine. President Maduro was sworn in for a second term earlier this month, but political groups that oppose him boycotted the election and said it wasn't free and fair. Maduro said there is a permanent campaign of lies about him and the late President Chavez, and that Venezuela is a real democracy with a truly democratic president. But most other countries in the Americas recently voted not to recognize his government. And on Wednesday, the leader of Venezuela's National Assembly, its legislative branch, declared himself to be Venezuela's new interim or temporary president. Shortly afterward, U.S. President Donald Trump said he'd officially recognize Juan Guaido as Venezuela's new leader. So did the leaders of several other countries in the Americas. President Maduro said his nation's opposition is attempting a coup and announced he would end diplomatic ties with the United States.
Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro started his controversial second term in an elaborate ceremony this month, promising to build socialism in the 21st century. For the country's opposition, this moment marked an unprecedented power grab.
Por primera vez.
Venezuela has a de facto government for the first time since 1958. We have a dictatorship in Venezuela. It's a government which was not elected with sovereignty. Maduro kidnapped the state for his own benefit.
The head of the National Assembly, Juan Guaido, said he would be ready to take over as president, a statement that led Venezuela's pro-government Supreme Court to nullify the body's power. Still, the opposition appears emboldened in a fight to unseat Venezuela's president. A man claiming to be a military sergeant called on Venezuelans to support an uprising. "People of Venezuela, we need your support," he said in a video posted to social media this week. He and a group of soldiers were detained, but the message of resistance spread. Protests in the capital turned violent. Officials using tear gas to break up the crowd. Those demonstrations perhaps a preview of mass marches called by the opposition, which received a ringing endorsement from the U.S.
We say to all the good people of Venezuela, estamos con ustedes. We are with you. We stand with you. And we will stay with you until democracy is restored.
The U.S. Vice President's message receiving an angry rebuke from the Venezuelan president, who said Pence was openly calling for a coup, and from others in Maduro's camp, incensed by America's show of support to the opposition.
Yankee, go home.
Maduro's government has long blamed the U.S. for stoking anger inside Venezuela and for sanctions which they claim have damaged the economy. But critics point to corruption and failed policies for the difficulties Venezuelans face, an astronomical inflation rate, chronic shortages in food and medicine, and a mass exodus since 2015 of millions looking for more stable conditions. The once oil-rich country now in crisis, its citizens desperate for change. Amaryl Walker, CNN.
The U.S. Senate votes Thursday on two bills concerning the partial shutdown of the U.S. government. The bill that's supported by Republicans would provide the funding for a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico and allow some people who are in the U.S. illegally to stay for 3 years without the threat of being deported. The bill that's supported by Democrats would fund the government through February 8th, but not include the money for the wall. Both bills would end the partial government shutdown, but neither is expected to get the 60 votes needed to pass. Still, analysts say the Senate debates could be a step toward ending the deadlock in the government. It's directly affected 800,000 federal workers who could miss a second paycheck on Friday, though they will be paid when the shutdown ends. It's also led to doubt about the timing and location of President Trump's State of the Union message, which is scheduled for next Tuesday. 10-second trivia. Which of these leaders held power in the 14th century BC? King David, Alexander the Great, Emperor Augustus, or King Tutankhamun? Of these leaders, King Tut is the oldest, having reigned from around 1333 to 1323 BC. About 5,000 artifacts have been recovered from King Tut's tomb since it was discovered in Egypt's Valley of the Kings in 1922. But that tomb and everything in it barely scratches the surface of the nation's ancient history. So a museum, appropriately titled the Grand Museum, gives a new home to some of Egypt's most precious relics. The location overlooks the pyramids of Giza, not far from the capital of Cairo. The preparation is meticulous.
Restoring antiquities is painstaking work, especially when it's King Tut's 3,500-year-old chariot. Conservationists spend months on minute details, repairing and preparing the artifacts for display. So here's the latest challenge, and look closely. Restore the boy king's sandals. Impossible. Mohammed Yusri was told it's a lost cause.
So we create a new technique by using some special adhesive. As you saw, its condition, it was very bad, and here I think it's can't alive again.
It's more than new life. It's resurrecting the past. An army of conservationists and archaeologists at the new Grand Egyptian Museum saves them from oblivion. Long overdue for a country awash with thousands of years of civilization to preserve. 17 state-of-the-art labs specialize in the neglected antiquities. Grand monoliths receive facelifts. Tut's bed being remade. And his jewelry strung back to its former glory. Outside, 5,000 construction workers labor around the clock, a race for everyone to open the museum by the end of the year. Dr. Tarek Tawfiq oversees the more than $1 billion project.
This will be the museum of the 21st century, which means that all means of modern technology have been taken into consideration.
Once completed, it'll be the largest museum in the world devoted to a single civilization.
It's a gate from Middle Kingdom.
50,000 artifacts will guide visitors through the rise and fall of ancient Egypt. But the main attraction, of course, will be the complete collection of King Tut's tomb, with all his treasures on display.
Tutankhamun will be actually the one who will take the visitor back in history 3,500 years to show how a royal court in ancient Egypt in the 18th dynasty, 3,500 years ago, would look like.
As the artifacts move to their new home, Egypt invests in its future by preserving its heritage and showcasing the magnificence of its past. Ian Lee, CNN, Cairo.
Who would have thought that being on thin ice could be so mesmerizing? Yeah, that's a pun. This is a lake in Norway. And what you hear is the sound it makes when someone skates on thin black ice. The man who took this video says the ice is 2 to 3 inches thick. According to National Geographic, black ice can be that thin and still support a skater. But there's also still the risk that someone could fall in. So don't do it. Some say it's like the ice is singing. Let's hope its voice doesn't crack. That would change the tenor of an alto-wise enticing evening when haunting baritones strike a chord with harmony skaters, bringing fanfare to all who lend an ear. I'm Carla Zeiss for CNN.